Warning: some viewers may find the following content disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
So, a couple of years back, my buddies and I tried to stay in a park after closing time. Our plan was to just take photos. Nothing sinister or anything like that. We just wanted to say we'd be able to do it, you know? Basically, we snuck from bathroom to bathroom, corner to corner, and managed to stay there, until they closed the gates and the maintenance team got to work. We were really surprised we hadn't gotten caught. It was almost strange, considering how much talking up Disney security gets. Our hearts were beating like crazy and we sat there for a while, hiding behind a tombstone by the haunted mansion. We noticed that it's true, the Disney staff had signed their names on every single one. So finally, we got the courage to roam about, still being careful as not to be seen. It was really eerie. The occasional guard or maintenance worker would walk by, and we would just duck or hide behind a corner. It worked, for about half an hour. Of course, we couldn't keep this up for long, and yeah, they caught us. I mean, I give us props for even attempting and succeeding, but that's not where the story ends. So the first thing we said when they caught us was, "Are you going to take us down to the dungeon?" And we laughed. The security guard chuckled, too, so the mood wasn't too dreary. He told us we weren't the first people trying to sneak in after hours, but he wanted to know how we did it. We explained the situation and he actually laughed and said that it wasn't a bad plan. He told us he had to take us to the Disney jail to be furtherly interrogated, which we thought was odd, but we figured from the beginning that if we got caught, they'd take us down there. It might have been our plan after all. Maybe we wanted to see the Disney Catacombs more than we wanted to be in the park after hours. So, he called for more workers to come and help him escort us, and we went on our way towards Toontown. Then they took us down in this elevator. Right, into hell. The first thing we noticed was how expensive looking the elevator was. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's hard to explain. It was like a stainless steel interior with mirrors all around it, and the floor was this tacky red carpeting, but it looked expensive. There were only 2 buttons in this elevator, not counting the emergency buttons. One said up and the other said down. I'd forgot to mention that they never handcuffed us or zip-tied our hands. They just kinda walked beside us, expecting we'd follow. Not that we would have tried to make a run for it. I mean, these people seemed decent. Like, how were we supposed to know what was going to happen? The elevator stopped and we started walking down this perfectly shining, bleach-smelling corridor. There were no doors on either side. It was just a plain, empty corridor. We walked for what seemed like an eternity, and nobody was taking any longer. It was me, my friends, the security guard, and 2 other maintenance workers. Finally, we reached a heavy metal door that had a security code and a card reader. One worker put his card in, the other typed a code onto his keypad. I watched the code he typed in, 121566. I only remembered it because I found out later what its significance was, and it makes me laugh looking back at it. Strange. It's strange that I could laugh looking back. They led me and my friends into another corridor. This one had doors down the hallways. Each door had a little plexiglass square, a 10 by 10 inch window at the top right corner. It looked like some sort of psych ward, to be honest, not so much like a jail. He led us to room 1901, and inside was a single desk, with surprisingly 3 chairs for me and my friends. Then they left us in there alone, closing the door on their way out. We sat on the chairs, obedient like little children, waiting for them to return. But they never did. 2 hours went by and nobody came back for us. My buddy Tim went to the door, and surprisingly, it was unlocked. He didn't open it though. He was worried there'd be a guard on the outside, and they'd think we were escaping, and we weren't looking for any more trouble. So about 25 minutes went by when we got restless and finally decided to leave the room. The hallway was empty, like before. No signs of people. Nothing. We started calling out, Hello? Is anybody here? Nobody answered our calls. We noticed surveillance cameras were placed above every door, and we got to wondering if there was any living soul in this place at all. We should have left right then and there, but then again, whoever does the right thing in these kinds of situations. Each door looked the same, and each one had a specific number. They weren't in order like say rooms 1 to 10. They were scattered numbers. For example, our room had been 1901, but the door next to it was 1205. We got to thinking and finally assumed that they were just randomly chosen. We walked up the hallway and had no idea where we was going, what we were hoping to find, or if it even mattered. My other buddy, Guy, decided we should just leave. He said that if they really wanted us here, they'd have come back, and maybe it was just a scare tactic. Maybe they just wanted to trick us into thinking we were being arrested, and were waiting for us outside to laugh. I felt weary of the whole situation, and Tim was just quiet the whole time, nodding his head here and there. He was more interested in looking into the door's little 10 by 10 inch windows. That wasn't a good idea. I tried to tell him, but of course no one listens to reason when they're freaked out. And we were definitely freaked the fuck out at this point. The cameras above the doors were capable of motion detection, and followed us as we wandered down the desolate corridor. A little red light at the bottom of the lens, blinking every second. No noise filled the air. All we heard was each other breathing. Then, it happened. We'd reached the end of the hallway. Unfortunately, the door at the end had another pin code reader. I tried the pin from before, the one I saw him type in, but it was invalid. At this moment, the lights in the hallway shut off, and we heard the doors. God damn it, I could still hear them to this day. The fucking doors opened, all lining up along the corridor. They made a subtle creak, and then a boom, as they hit the wall beside them with force. As I said, after I entered the invalid code into the keypad, the lights shut off and the doors opened, except for the door with the keypad. We noticed as the doors opened, each doorway had a little bit of light seeping from its open pathway. We stood there, stunned for a good 5 minutes, not knowing what to do. We figured we'd tripped some kind of alarm, and that this was simply a protocol, a standard drill in case of an attempted escape. What were we supposed to think? So we turned the other direction, away from the locked door. A sense of panic hit all three of us for some reason, and we got the urge to run. Nobody agreed to running. It was like we all knew what we had to do at the same time. Like some sort of instinct, like a baby gazelle knowing when to run from a lion. We were in a lion's den, alright. It wasn't until about the 10th door we passed that we begun to look into the doorways as we passed them. Standing at the doorways were people in characters. We were running past Donalds, Mickeys, Goofies, Plutos, and all different kinds of Disney characters. It was insane, and we screamed at the top of our lungs. I know they never say look behind you as you run, but I did. They were leaving the rooms and following us, not running, just casually walking towards us. I think that's what made that much more terrifying, almost like they knew we had nowhere to go. Now, I don't know if this was all in my head, or just from sheer panic and the fear of the moment, but I swear, I could swear on my mother's life, I heard "It's a Small World" playing over an intercom. I have a fear of dolls, and that ride always gave me the creeps my whole life. Now I could see them, the little robotic dolls standing in the doorways as we passed. Still following were the costumed characters. The dolls weren't chasing us, thank God. I would have died from a heart attack if I had seen the dolls following suit, but they didn't. It did not make the situation all that better. I mean, how many times have you been followed by a group of costumed individuals, seemingly out to fucking eat you alive? At least, that's what I told myself to keep myself moving. Stopping meant getting devoured by a effing Donald Duck. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go out like that. Tim was crying. Guy was sweating and breathing heavily. And I just kept turning my head to see if they were being followed. And of course, we were. I'm not sure how many doors we had passed at the point, and if there were really different characters at each door. but I knew that this hallway had to end at some point, and we were getting the frick out of this place pronto. That was easier said than done. I looked back after a minute or two of running. I noticed there was nothing behind us anymore that we could see. I heard footsteps, but figured we had gotten so far ahead that they were just walking casually like before. The hallway was still, going on for what seemed like forever, and Guy needed to stop, or he was going to faint from exhaustion. The door behind us was open, with the light on, but nothing inside. We decided we would hide in there till we caught our breath and could continue onward. As we closed the door behind us, I noticed the room was 1966. Again, that meant nothing at the time. Tim was pacing the room. Guy was lying on the floor still breathing pretty hard, and I was at the window. Looking out, I saw nothing. No music, no nothing. It was dark out and hard to tell for sure, but I figured we would have seen figures, shadows or something, so I kept watch. After about 15 minutes or so, Guy said he was good to go. Tim was the only one smart enough to pull out his new Razor cell phone. No signal, of course. He had opened the door suddenly, quietly, but heard no footsteps. Nothing was following us anymore, but we weren't taking chances. We got back to running. It took us only about another 7 minutes to reach the door, give or take. It had no keypad, and it was open. We entered the corridor from before, and thank God there were no more doors. We ran for the elevator, and got in. Pushed the up button, and stood there looking at each other, dumbfounded as to what the heck just happened. None of us spoke. We just waited until the elevator opened back into Toontown, and we started making our way to the front gate. We kept a low profile, using the same duck and hide technique that had gotten us this far from the get-go. Maintenance workers and security guards were still about, but we couldn't take any more chances. Finally, Tim lost it and took off in a spirit. I just couldn't imagine what set him off, until I looked and saw that everybody in the park was just standing there, staring at us with blank faces. We heard a voice over the intercom, explaining that 3 fugitives had escaped from captivity and had needed to be escorted back into the jails below. We booked it, catching up to Tim. Costume characters appeared from the shadows, workers and guards chasing after us. Everyone was sprinting for us. I couldn't see well, but I imagined drool dripping from their jewels. They wanted us back down there. We had escaped, and they were pissed. The gate was just up ahead. The creepiest thing about it all was that the voice over the intercom. The park was dead silent. No chat from the workers could be seen, even now as we were running from what we assumed was our lives. From the characters, the workers, the guards, nobody bothered to shout. No one yelled, "Stop!" Nothing, just footsteps and the occasional cough from Guy. As we made it past the park's front gate, we didn't stop until we got to the parking lot. Our car was gone and we were left scratching our heads. We continued down the road, which went on for miles, stopping occasionally for us to catch our breath. We made it to a little corner store, where Tim used his cell to call a taxi cab. When it finally arrived, we took the cab back to the hotel we were staying at, paid their fare, and went up to our rooms. In the end, the next day we got a call from the hotel's front desk, so we headed downstairs. There were offers waiting for us. They said our car had been impounded and we needed to pay the fine. They didn't ask us any other questions, and we didn't bother telling the police anything that had happened. Even now on this random board, people who don't have a reason to disbelieve me don't believe me. So how could an officer of the law be expected to? We didn't bother. We simply paid the fine and drove home. We didn't talk about what happened the whole drive back. It wasn't until a couple weeks later that I got myself to search up numbers, curiosity I suppose. As you all know, Walt Disney was born December 5th, 1901. The room we were in was 1901. And the door next to it was 1205. Also, he died December 15th, 1966, which was the key code the worker had put in to lead us into the main corridor. What a strange coincidence, I decided. Whether any of that was real was up to you. I can't tell you. Maybe our imaginations ran wild. We were tired. It was around 1 AM when we made our escape, so it's plausible that that's the answer. I'll never forget it though. I've never been back since. And that, my dorks, was Disney Catacombs, a Disney creepypasta. My final thoughts on this story? I really like it. This is my first time reading the story, and a fan recommended I write my own version, but I don't know what to write yet, so I just figured I'd give you this one to keep you guys covered for a little bit. But honestly, this story is pretty realistic in the sense of the guys acting crazy, just running on impulse, diving, trying to escape from workers. The costume stuff seems ridiculous, but then again, all the crazy stuff that happens at Disney sometimes is kind of believable. Maybe those people were just brainwashed or something, ready to kill at any moment. The whole segment though of just people casually walking towards you must be terrifying, and hearing It's a Small World playing over it, I would be scared if this was happening to me. If I had to give this story a final rating, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. This is a really fine creepypasta. One of the better ones that's a Disney creepypasta. Much better than Abandoned by Disney. So definitely give this one a read. And I will see you guys in the next video. This is the Dark Author, signing off.